How many questions on the U.S. citizenship naturalization test do you think I can get right? Hello, my name is Rob. I'm a tour guide and the founder of Trip Hacks DC Tours. On this channel, I share my best tips, tricks, and hacks for exploring Washington, D.C. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell notification icon so that you don't miss anything in the future. I recently got a pretty heartwarming message on social media from someone named Claudia that I want to share with you. She wrote, I recently became a naturalized U.S. citizen after living in the U.S. for 5 years as a permanent resident. I was born and grew up in Chile and fell in love with an American. After our wedding in Texas, I was able to live there permanently. However, I've always wanted to become a full American citizen, which I did this year. After coronavirus has passed, I hope to come to Washington, D.C. with my family to see the many historic sites that I learned about while studying for the exam. As someone who never learned U.S. history growing up in Chile, I found the exam difficult, but I studied hard and passed. I was wondering how difficult you would find the exam. So first, let me say a huge congratulations on becoming a U.S. citizen. I know what a big deal that is, as I personally know some people who have gone through this process. To answer Claudia's question about the exam, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services actually has some practice tests on their website that anyone can take. So if you want to give it a try, I will leave a link to it down in the video description. But I also want to know how well you do on the exam. So make sure you come back to this video afterwards and leave a comment with your score. With that said, let's pull up my screen and get started. So you can either Google it or just click on the link in the video description and it will take you to this page. Welcome to the Civics Practice Test. It's going to give you some information about how many questions are on the test, what to expect during the real test, some tips for studying, and then down at the bottom, this blue button, Start Practice Test. Okay, so the first question is, we elect a US Senator for how many years? Now it's not 2 because that's for a representative. It's not 10 because nobody's elected for 10 years. 4 would be a good guess because that's how long we elect many positions for, but the correct answer for a US Senator, I happen to know, is 6. All right, so far so good. Second question is, what is one thing Ben Franklin is famous for? All right, choices are US diplomat, I know he did that. Inventor of the airplane, I know he definitely didn't do that. Youngest member of the Constitutional Convention is a plausible choice. Third president of the United States, he definitely was not that. So I know he was US diplomat, and so that is what I am going with, and that is correct. Number 3, name one right only for US citizens. Okay, now this one is tricky because it says only for US citizens. So run for federal office, pretty sure that's only for US citizens. Freedom of speech. Now, you get freedom of speech even if you're not a US citizen. So if you're visiting from another country and you say something and the government doesn't like it, you're allowed to because that's freedom of speech. Same goes for freedom of religion. And attend public school. You know, I happen to know some people who are not US citizens who attend public school. So the only one on this list that makes sense is A, run for federal office, and that is correct. Number 4, there were 13 original states. Name 3. So I find that these questions, the way to approach them is to use process of elimination. So we're looking for the original 13 states. Okay, Washington was definitely not, so that A's out. Virginia, North Carolina, and Florida. Florida was definitely not, so B's out. Maryland, Virginia, and North Carolina, sounds right. New York, Kentucky, and Georgia. Kentucky was not, so D's out. So that leaves C, which is the correct answer. Number 5, who was the first president? Well, I feel like if you know any US history, you know it was George Washington. Number 6, who is the commander-in-chief of the military? All right, so the choices are Attorney General, which doesn't seem quite right. Secretary of Defense is a plausible choice. Vice President, why would it be the Vice President if you also have the President? Well, I happen to know that it is the President who is the Commander-in-Chief of the military. So number 7, name one war fought by the United States in the 1800s. So this is another one where if you know your war history, you can just know the answer. But if you don't, you can use the process of elimination. So I happen to know that World War II was not in the 1800s, that was in the 1940s. I know that World War I was in the earlier 1900s, and the Korean War was in the 1950s. So therefore, by the process of elimination, we have the Mexican-American War, which is correct. Number 8, who was in charge of the executive branch? Well, we have the executive, legislative, and judicial branches, and the leader of the executive branch is the president. Who is the Chief Justice of the United States now? Now, I don't love questions like this because it should say who is the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court. That's the full title, just as Chief Justice. Well, it's not the former vice president. This is a justice on the Supreme Court, Anthony Kennedy, but he's not the Chief Justice. This is former president, so 2 of these are not even justices at all. And so by process of elimination, we know that these are 2 justices, and I know that John Roberts is the Chief Justice. Number 10, what do we show loyalty to when we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Well, if you know the Pledge of Allegiance, it starts with, I pledge allegiance to the flag. And so the correct answer is flag, but that's not a choice. So really don't like this question. The literal answer is the flag, but the full text is, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. And so it's not the state where you live, the president, or Congress. The correct answer I think that they're going for is C, the United States. Oh, good. Okay. Tough one. I don't love the wording of that question, but was able to get it right. 11, what is an amendment? Well, an amendment could be many things, but in the context of this exam, it is an amendment to the Constitution. And so that would be a change to the Constitution. Number 12, what are 2 rights of everyone living in the United States? So again, this is a tricky one because it's saying these are rights of everyone living in the United States, not of US citizens, which is what that previous question was asking about. So freedom to petition the government, yes. Freedom to disobey traffic laws, no. Freedom of speech and freedom of religion, yes. Freedom of speech and freedom to run for president, no, you have to be a US citizen to do that. Freedom of religion and freedom to make treaties with other countries. Could you imagine if everyone living in the United States could make a treaty with another country? So that leaves B, freedom of speech and freedom of religion. Number 13, what are 2 ways that Americans can participate in their democracy? Okay, give an elected official your opinion, yes. And join a community group, yes. Write to a newspaper or call your senators or representatives, yes. Vote and join a civic group, yes. So all of these are ways. So I don't love this style of question because it asks you for 2, but then it gives you 6 correct answers and it wants you to pick D, all of these answers. All right, number 14. What is the political party of the president now? I feel like this is just one that you know from following the news and there's really no other way to know it. Number 15, before he was president, Eisenhower was a general. What war was he in? All right, this one's a tricky one, I will admit. If you're a history buff and you know your war history, you know the answer to this one. Otherwise, you have to use the dates of these wars. So it couldn't be the Civil War because that was way before Eisenhower was president. And it couldn't be the Vietnam War because that was after Eisenhower was president. And the Spanish-American War was way before as well. So that just leaves World War II. Number 16, who signs bills to become laws? This is a tricky one, I feel like, because, if you've ever watched the Schoolhouse Rock bill on Capitol Hill, you know that it's a very complex process. And so Congress passes bills, and it's actually the president who then signs them, doesn't sign them, or vetoes them. But the answer they're going for here is B, the president. Number 17, when was the Declaration of Independence adopted? All right, so if you know about Independence Day, you know that that's on July 4th, so you can eliminate these other 2 choices. And then the question is, was it 1776 or 1789? I think if you study early history, 1776 sure comes up a lot because that was the year that it was adopted. 18, what is the supreme law of the land? And the choices are Articles of Confederation, which don't exist anymore. The Declaration of Independence, which is not a law, it's just telling England that we quit. The Constitution or the Emancipation Proclamation, which freed the slaves. The correct answer on this one is C. Constitution is the supreme law of the land. 19, name one problem that led to the Civil War. Pretty sure that they're going for slavery on this one, so we're going to pick slavery as correct. And number 20, going for the perfect score. What is the highest court in the United States? There's a joke if you take some tours in Washington, D.C., that the highest court in the land is a basketball court in the gym at the Supreme Court building. I know, funny, right? And so the highest court in the United States is the Supreme Court. That is choice D. And 100%, 20 out of 20 answered correct. So as a tour guide, I feel like I know a lot of these. I'm a big history buff, studied a lot of these in school growing up. And so for me, it was relatively easy to take the test and get the answers. I feel like these are challenging questions, and someone like Claudia, who wrote me that comment, I can see that it would require some heavy studying to really get these things down and to really understand how they're framing these questions and how they're asking them. And don't forget, after you've taken it, come back to the video and leave me a comment with your score. And hey, if you made it this far, then I highly recommend another Trip Hacks DC video. So go ahead and click or tap right over here to watch the next one. And if you're coming to DC and want to sign up for a Trip Hacks DC guided tour, you can click or tap on the Capitol Dome on the left side of my head. That'll send you right over to triphacksdc.com, where you can see all of the tours that we offer. Enjoy your trip!